first thing I did was I taped my blueprint to the TranspArt to keep it from moving around while I cut it out. You can either use scissors or a sharp craft knife to cut out the pieces. I used a Sharpie to help trace out the detailed edges so they'd be easier to cut later. The whole process needs to be repeated twice, once for each side, as well as you need to cut 2 1-inch strips for the top and bottom. It's important that you flatten out the TranspArt with a heat gun so your blade isn't warped later, because otherwise it will list to one side or the other. Here I sketch out the blade bevel so we can trace it later. A soldering iron or hot knife can be used to score the plastic so it bends at a sharp angle and looks like a good, clean bevel. You want to score each piece in opposite directions so that when put together, they meet in the middle. You want to tape the pieces together so that they line up completely and properly, especially on the edges that you're about to heat score. You want to run your soldering iron over the edges to melt them together. For this, my soldering iron was at 800 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to test the bond to make sure that it's strong, because most of the strength of this piece comes from these strong edges. TranspArt is very flexible on its own, so this process will help keep it strong and straight later. You want to continue this process all the way up the edge to the very tip. Here you can pop it open and see the bevel start to take shape. For the top edge, you'll need to cut a 1/2 inch to 1 inch wide strip of TranspArt that's super straight. If you use Sharpie to draw lines on your TranspArt, you can remove it with rubbing alcohol. Here you want to remove the tape from the top edge of your blade so that you can insert one of those strips. Because the blade narrows to a point at the end, you want to also narrow the top edge so that it's not also 1 inch wide at the point where it's supposed to be sharp and pointy. Now you want to tape that piece in so that when you heat weld it together with your soldering iron, it will stay in place. After some fun LED soldering, we can then light up the blade as well as paint it. Using my airbrush, I lightly spray on a coat of blue transparent paint. This lets light through, but still looks partially translucent. When you turn the LEDs on, you can see that it glows really nicely. You can also add highlights and lowlights using your airbrush that don't block a ton of light, but still make it so when the blade is not glowing, it looks really nicely detailed.